When you find yourself caught in the trap of always being the nice guy, you're really stepping in the pattern of living for someone else's approval instead of your own. And that is the core of the problem. You see, most men who call themselves nice guys are not truly being nice because it flows naturally out of who they are, but because they believe that being agreeable, constantly available, and endlessly accommodating is the ticket to love, acceptance, and attention. But the truth is, when you live like this, you're not living for yourself. You're living for someone else's reaction to you. You're giving away your power. And attraction is never built on giving away your power. It is built on the energy you carry when you value yourself first. Think about it when you walk into a room with the mindset that you need her to like you. You've already surrendered control of your own self-image. You've placed your sense of worth in her hands. And the moment she feels that, the moment she senses you're depending on her approval to feel confident, the attraction fades. Why? Because people are drawn to those who are rooted in their own worth, not to those who are constantly begging for it. It's like handing her the keys to your confidence and saying, here, you drive, but real strength, real magnetism comes when you decide, no, I'll drive my own car. You can join me if you'd like, but I don't need you to steer my life. This is why valuing yourself first changes everything. It flips the energy. Instead of walking into an interaction wondering, does she like me? You start thinking, do I even like her? Does she fit into my vision, my values, my life? That simple shift takes you out of scarcity and into abundance. And women feel that difference instantly. A man who values himself doesn't chase approval. He offers an invitation. He doesn't bend his standards for acceptance. He allows others to rise to his level if they want to be part of his world. Self-value is not arrogance. It's not about puffing out your chest or pretending to be better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that your time, your energy, your dreams, and your emotions have weight. They matter. And when you believe they matter, you stop giving them away cheaply. You stop giving endless attention to someone who hasn't earned it. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop chasing validation from people who don't even know who they are. The nice guy always tries to buy connection with approval. He thinks if he's sweet enough, if he agrees enough, if he's always available, eventually she will see his worth. But here's the paradox: the more you give without valuing yourself, the less attractive you become. Why? Because people instinctively place value on what is rare, what is respected, and what is not desperate for attention. The man who respects himself doesn't offer his presence cheaply, and that scarcity makes his energy valuable. Just like gold, its value doesn't come from being everywhere. It comes from being precious, limited, and recognized as worthy. So when you stop seeking approval and start valuing yourself, you shift from being the gold digger to being the gold itself. And suddenly women see you differently. Not because you've manipulated them, not because you've played games, but because you've redefined your relationship with yourself. Attraction flows from that alignment. Now, let's get practical for a moment. Valuing yourself first means you begin with small decisions. If you don't want to go somewhere, stop forcing yourself just to please someone else. If you disagree with something, speak up instead of nodding along silently. If you need time for yourself, take it without apology. These small acts of self-respect accumulate. They build an energy around you that communicates, I am not here to be molded. I am here as I am. And I invite you to join me if you see the value. And that energy is magnetic. You see, the woman you're trying to attract is looking for another follower, another servant, another man who bends his life around her mood. What truly draws her in is the man who stands firm, who carries himself as though his presence is already enough, who doesn't need to beg for her attention because he already has his own attention. That man glows differently. He doesn't try to impress. He simply is impressive because he knows his value. This is where confidence is born, not in pretending, not in lines or tactics, but in the quiet decision to honor yourself above the opinions of others. Confidence is the natural byproduct of self-value. It radiates out in the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. It makes every word you say more powerful, every action more meaningful, because it's not coming from a place of trying to win her over. It's coming from the steady ground of knowing you are already enough. When you stop seeking approval, you also stop being afraid of rejection. That's one of the biggest chains the nice guy wears, the fear that if he ever says no, if he ever shows his true self, if he ever risks being disliked, she'll leave. But when you value yourself first, you realize something powerful. Rejection doesn't subtract from your worth. It simply reveals who doesn't belong in your circle. It's not a loss, it's clarity. And that perspective frees you. It makes you bolder, calmer, and infinitely more attractive because now you're living without the constant weight of needing to be chosen. Women respect men who respect themselves. They trust men who trust themselves. And they are drawn to men who walk onto every interaction with the energy of, I am whole as I am. If we connect, beautiful. If not, I remain whole. That's the kind of presence that her lean in, that makes her curious. That makes her want to invest in you instead of you endlessly investing in her. So never underestimate the power of shifting your focus inward. Stop asking, what do I need to do to make her like me? And start asking, what do I need to do to fully value myself? Because when you elevate yourself, you elevate the kind of energy you bring into every room, and attraction naturally follows. When you spend your life trying to please, You're always adjusting yourself to the expectations of others, always bending and shaping your identity around what you think will make you more likable. But true attraction is never born from bending. It is born from standing tall. It is born from leading with purpose instead of constantly asking yourself what will make her happy. When you lead with purpose, you are no longer driven by fear of losing someone's attention. You are guided by your own vision, your own mission, your own sense of where you're going. That kind of clarity is magnetic because it shows you are not a man waiting for permission to live. You are a man already moving, already walking in his direction, already carrying himself with a certainty that cannot be shaken. Think about it. Women are not drawn to the man who floods through life, waiting to see what she wants before deciding what he wants. They are drawn to the man who knows where he is going regardless of who joins him. A nice guy will constantly ask, what do you want me to do? What would make you happy? What can I change so you like me more? But the man of purpose carries a different energy. He doesn't ask those questions because his life is already rooted in vision. His question is, this is where I'm going. Does this align with you? That subtle shift changes everything because now he is not chasing her approval. He is inviting her to be part of a story that already has meaning. The nice guy is reactive. He waits for her cues, her moods, her hints before deciding how to act. The man of purpose is proactive. He is not cold or careless. He still listens. He still values connection. But his actions flow from his mission, not from her momentary desires. That's why he is respected. That's why he is admired. That's why he is attractive, because he is rooted and people crave stability. A woman wants to feel that the man she's with knows where he's headed, not that he's constantly looking to her for direction. When you build your life around purpose, you shift from being a passenger to being the driver. You are not asking, where should we go? You are saying, this is the road I'm on, and you're welcome to ride with me. And what happens is extraordinary people want to follow those who have direction. We are naturally drawn to leaders, not because they dominate, but because they bring certainty in a world that often feels uncertain. That's the energy that inspires attraction. Purpose gives you strength in moments when approval seeking would make you weak. For instance, a nice guy, when faced with conflict, will soften his voice, backtrack on his words, apologize for things he didn't even do. Oh, because he's terrified of rocking the boat. But the man of purpose holds steady. He knows his values. He knows what he stands for. And because he knows he does not collapse when challenged, he listens, he communicates, but he does not lose himself. That balance of strength and composure is deeply compelling. Purpose also reshapes how you use your time. The nice guy spends endless hours waiting for a reply, adjusting his schedule just to be available, canceling his own plans because he doesn't want to risk disappointing her. But a man of purpose doesn't operate like that. His time is dedicated to his growth, his goals, his vision. And because his time is valuable, she sees him as valuable. Time is the most precious resource we have. And when you guard it, when you invest it in building something meaningful, people naturally respect it. She won't see you as just another man trying to win her attention. She'll see you as a man building a life worth joining. And here's something powerful: when you lead with purpose, you stop fearing whether you'll lose her, because your life is not dependent on her presence. Your mission is bigger than one person. That doesn't mean you don't care. It means you don't collapse if things don't go your way. And that calm detachment creates even more attraction. A woman feels safe with a man who won't fall apart without her. She feels excited around a man who has something greater driving him. She feels inspired by his energy because it shows he is not chasing her as his sole source of meaning. He is inviting her to join a life already filled with it. Leading with purpose doesn't mean you're rigid or unwilling to compromise. It means compromise happens within the framework of your vision, not at the expense of it. It means you're not sacrificing your calling just to be liked for the moment. It means your life has depth, and you're unwilling to trade that depth for shallow approval. That is the energy of a man who can build, create, inspire, and attract without begging for validation. So the shift is simple but profound. Stop asking, what should I do to please her? And start asking, what am I here to build? What am I here to become? What is the vision that drives me? When you live with those questions, your life gains clarity. And that clarity shines brighter than any forced niceness ever could. Women are not looking for another man to orbit around them. They are looking for a man whose orbit is already strong, a man with gravity, a man who pulls others in because his direction is undeniable. One of the most overlooked elements of attraction is the ability to establish boundaries and hold firm to your standards. When you move through life as a nice guy, you tend to give endlessly without asking yourself. The exchange is balanced without considering whether your needs, your time, and your values are being honored. You confuse giving with loving, and you confuse sacrificing with caring. But the reality is, without boundaries, you teach others that you do not value yourself. You send the message that your time is always up for negotiation. Your emotions can be walked over, and your energy has no limits. And when you allow that, you weaken the very foundation of who you are. A boundary is not a wall to keep people out. It is a line that defines what you stand for, what you allow, and what you will not tolerate. It is a clear signal to the world that you respect yourself enough to protect your peace, your time, and your energy. When you have boundaries, you don't need to shout or become aggressive. You simply live in a way that demonstrates, this is my standard. People feel it in your tone, in your actions, in how you respond when those lines are tested. And women in particular respect it because it communicates strength. It shows that you are not desperate to hold on to someone at the cost of losing yourself. The nice guy, however, avoids boundaries because he fears rejection. He thinks that saying no or standing firm will push her away. So he says yes when he doesn't mean it. He gives more when he is already exhausted. He agrees with things that do not align with him. He does all of this because trying to buy connection with compliance. But what he does not realize is that by doing so, he teaches her not to respect him. Because if you cannot respect your own boundaries, how can anyone else? Respect begins with you. When you set boundaries, you actually increase your value. Think of it this way. If a store gives everything away for free, people don't value the products inside. But if that store sets clear prices and protects its worth, customers treat what they buy with more respect. The same is true with your energy, your time, and your attention. If you hand them out freely to anyone, they lose value. But if you distribute them with discernment, with standards, people recognize their importance. A woman doesn't fall for the man who bends constantly. She falls for the man who shows through his actions that his presence is not cheap, that his attention must be earned, and that his love comes with the expectation of mutual respect. Boundaries also create safety. When you are consistent in what you allow and what you don't, she feels a steadiness in you. She knows you won't collapse under pressure. And she knows you won't tolerate being disrespected. That stability is deeply attractive because it signals maturity and strength. It tells her she is not dealing with a boy who needs approval, but with a man who knows his worth. And when she knows where you stand, she can trust you. Without boundaries, there is no trust because unpredictability creates insecurity. Now, holding to your standards does not mean you are harsh or unkind. In fact, the strongest boundaries are expressed calmly and confidently. It is the quiet, unwavering energy of someone who doesn't need to explain endlessly or justify himself. For example, if she disrespects your time by repeatedly canceling plans at the last minute, the nice guy will overlook it, make excuses for her, and continue offering his availability. The man with boundaries, however, will calmly decide that his time is too valuable to be wasted, and he won't keep offering it to someone who doesn't respect it. That decision alone communicates volumes without a single harsh word spoken. Boundaries are also a reflection of your standards in relationships. If you hold yourself to a standard of honesty, consistency, and respect, you expect the same in return. You don't allow mixed signals, manipulation, or games to become part of your dynamic. And if those behaviors show up, you are willing to walk away rather than lower yourself to tolerate them. That willingness to walk away is one of the most powerful forms of strength. It shows that you would rather be alone than compromise your dignity. And ironically, that strength often draws her closer because she realizes you cannot be controlled by fear or desperation. Every time you choose to hold a boundary, you affirm to yourself that you are worthy. You reinforce the belief that your energy is valuable, your time is precious, and your love is not a tool for manipulation. And as you do this, your presence shifts, you stop radiating neediness, and you begin to radiate certainty. She feels it in how you speak, how you carry yourself, and how you interact. You are no longer chasing her approval. You are invited to meet your standards if she wishes to stay in your world. Boundaries are also liberating because they free you from resentment. Without them, you give so much that eventually you feel drained, bitter, and unappreciated. You start to believe people take advantage of you, but the truth is, you allowed it by not setting limits. When you learn to draw the line, you no longer carry that silent frustration. You give freely when you choose, but you stop when it's too much. That balance allows you to remain generous without being depleted. So the key is to remember that boundaries are not selfish. They are an act of self-respect. And when you respect yourself, others follow your lead. They may test your lines at times, but the way you respond teaches them how to treat you. If you fold, they push further. If you hold steady, they adapt. And in that steadiness lies your power, because you are no longer at the mercy of someone else's whims. You are standing firmly in your truth, and from that place, attraction grows naturally. Masculine energy is not about aggression or dominance, and it is not about posturing or pretending to be something you're not. It is about carrying yourself with a quiet strength, a calm confidence, and a stability that others can feel the moment you enter the room. When you cultivate masculine energy, you are not chasing approval or trying to prove yourself. You are rooted in who you are, and that grounded presence naturally attracts without force. A nice guy often misunderstands this. He thinks being overly agreeable, soft, and endlessly accommodating will make him more likable. But what he does not realize is that this constant need to please radiates insecurity. It shows he is unsettled within himself. And that unsettled energy repels instead of attracts. True masculine energy is steady, composed, and certain. It's the energy of a man who knows who he is, where he's going, and what he stands for. And that energy has a magnetic quality that cannot be faked. Think about a tree with deep roots. No matter how hard the wind blows, the tree does not fall. It bends when it needs to, but it never breaks because its foundation is strong. That is what masculine energy feels like to a woman. She can sense that you won't be thrown off balance by the ups and downs of life. You won't crumble when things get difficult. You won't lose yourself in the chaos of emotions. Instead, you remain firm, calm, and grounded. That stability is deeply attractive because it creates a sense of safety and trust. A woman wants to feel that the man she is with can weather storms, not just sunny days. And masculine energy communicates exactly that. Calmness is another dimension of masculine energy. It doesn't mean being passive or indifferent. It means you don't allow fear, desperation, or insecurity to dictate your behavior. The nice guy, when he feels nervous or uncertain, will overcompensate by trying harder, texting too much, giving too much, seeking constant reassurance. But the man who embodies calm strength does not panic. He does not rush to prove his worth. He understands his presence is enough, so he moves slowly, deliberately, and with composure. That calmness puts others at ease, and it makes her feel she is with someone who is in control of himself. Masculine energy also reveals itself in certainty. Certainty doesn't mean you know everything or that you never doubt. It means that even when you are uncertain about external things, you remain certain about your ability to figure it out. You carry an inner confidence that says, no matter what comes my way, I will handle it. That energy creates attraction because it shows resilience and strength. The nice guy, in contrast, often collapses under pressure, becomes flustered when things don't go his way, or seeks comfort from her as though she is his anchor. But when you cultivate masculine energy, you are your own anchor, and that allows her to relax into your presence instead of feeling like she has to hold you together. Another element of masculine energy is direction. Without direction, you drift, and drifting is one of the fastest ways to lose respect. A man who has direction doesn't need to announce it. It shows in how he lives. He has goals, he has vision, he has momentum. He wakes up with purpose and moves through the world with intention. That forward, moving energy is inspiring because it shows that he is not stagnant. He is not waiting for life to hand him meaning. He is creating it. The nice guy often waits for a woman to give him purpose, but the man with masculine energy already has purpose, and that difference makes him magnetic. She doesn't have to light his fire. She can see that it's already burning, and that inspires her to want to be close to it. Masculine energy is also about strength, but not just physical strength. It's about emotional and mental strength, the ability to remain composed in challenges, to take responsibility, to lead without controlling. A woman feels the difference between a man who reacts impulsively out of insecurity and a man who responds calmly out of strength. The latter gives her confidence that she can rely on him, that she can trust his judgment, and that he won't lose himself when life tests him. And this strength is not loud. It doesn't boast. It doesn't demand attention. It is quiet, steady, and undeniable. When you cultivate masculine energy, you stop being desperate. Desperate is the opposite of strength because it communicates lack, need, and emptiness. But when you are rooted in your masculine essence, you communicate abundance. You are not chasing love. You are not begging for attention. You are not scrambling to be chosen. You are already whole, and you invite her to share in that wholeness. That is why masculine energy attracts. It doesn't chase. It doesn't beg. It doesn't collapse. It holds steady, and in that steadiness lies power. So cultivating masculine energy is really about cultivating yourself. It is about building inner strength, developing emotional resilience, living with direction, and grounding yourself in calm certainty. It is about embodying the energy of a man who does not need to be validated because he already validates himself. And the moment you step into that state of being, you stop playing the role of the nice guy who bends and begs, and you start radiating the energy of a man who naturally attracts because his presence is strong, his foundation is steady, and his essence is undeniable. Authenticity is one of the rarest qualities you'll find in people today, and it's also one of the most attractive. When you are authentic, you are not hiding behind masks. You are not watering down your truth to fit in, and you are not shaping yourself into what you think someone else wants you to be. You stand as you are unapologetically, and that level of honesty is magnetic because it communicates strength and confidence. The nice guy often does the opposite. He edits himself. He holds back his real opinions. He hides his true feelings. He avoids speaking up out of fear that he might offend or push her away. He believes that constant agreement and compliance will make him more likable, but in reality, it makes him forgettable. When you hide who you are, you deny the world a chance to truly connect with you, and nothing kills attraction faster than the absence of authenticity. Authenticity means living in alignment with your values, your truth, and your desires. It means if you don't like something, you say it with calm confidence. If you do want something, you express it without shame. It means that you're not playing a role in hopes of being chosen. You're being yourself and letting the right people choose you for who you are. This is powerful because authenticity communicates certainty. It tells her that you know yourself and you are not afraid to show it. A man who is authentic doesn't need to put on an act to be accepted. He is willing to risk rejection because he knows that rejection of his true self is better than acceptance of a false version of him. That mindset alone shifts the energy from weakness to strength. When you embrace authenticity, your interactions become richer and more meaningful. You no longer feel the need to calculate every word, to monitor every action, or to wonder if you're saying the right thing. You simply express yourself honestly and let the chips fall where they may. This freedom not only makes you more relaxed, but it also makes her more comfortable around you. People feel safe when they sense honesty because they know where you stand. They don't have to guess. They don't have to decode. And they don't have to worry about hidden agendas. That clarity is refreshing and it creates trust. Nice guys often trap themselves in relationships built on pretense. They show only the parts of themselves they believe are acceptable. They suppress their flaws and they exaggerate their strengths in an effort to impress. But the truth is, that kind of relationship is built on shaky ground because eventually the mask comes off. And when it does, disappointment follows. Authenticity prevents that. When you are real from the start, what you build has a strong foundation because it's not based on illusion. It's based on truth. Being authentic also means you respect yourself enough to honor your desires. If you want love, you don't hide it behind games. If you're not interested, you don't pretend just to keep someone around. If you need space, you take it without guilt. These are simple acts, but they carry immense power because they communicate self-respect. A man who respects himself doesn't manipulate, and he doesn't tolerate being manipulated. He moves honestly, and that honesty demands respect in return. Authenticity doesn't mean you're perfect. In fact, part of being authentic is being willing to show imperfection. Vulnerability is a component of authenticity. And when you're not afraid to admit you don't have it all together, you actually become more relatable and human. The nice guy often hides behind perfectionism, trying to never upset her, never disagree, never reveal flaws, because he thinks mistakes will cost him connection. But the opposite is true. It's not perfection that builds bonds, it's honesty. People connect with what is real, not with what is polished to the point of being fake. What makes authenticity so attractive is that it's rare. In a world full of people wearing masks, the one who takes his mask off stands out. He shines without trying because his presence feels refreshing. She doesn't have to wonder who he really is. What she sees is what she gets. And that certainty, that confidence, that willingness to stand exposed without fear of rejection creates a powerful sense of attraction. When you live authentically, you stop chasing people. You stop twisting yourself into shapes just to fit into their lives. Instead, you live fully in your own truth. And the right people are naturally drawn to that. You are no longer seeking permission to exist as you are. You are no longer seeking approval for every word or action. You are grounded in yourself. And that grounded energy cannot be ignored. Women are not drawn to men who pretend. They are drawn to men who own who they are, flaws and all, and walk with the confidence of someone who refuses to live as anyone else. So authenticity is not just about being honest with others. It is about being honest with yourself. It's about asking, am I living in alignment with who I really am? Or am I living as a version designed to be accepted? When you choose authenticity, you may lose some people along the way, but those people were never meant for the real you. And the ones who remain, the ones who are drawn to you, will be drawn to something solid, something real, something lasting. And that is what creates true connection, respect, and attraction. When you stop chasing and start building, everything about the way people see you changes. Too many men waste their energy pouring all of their focus into trying to get her attention, into thinking about what text is said, what words to say, what gestures will impress her. They make her the center of their world before she has even chosen to be part of it. And in doing so, they neglect the most important truth. Attraction is not about chasing someone. It is about becoming someone. When you invest in yourself, when you grow, when you elevate your own life, you naturally create an energy that draws people in. You stop reaching outward in desperation, and instead, you radiate something from within that others want to be part of. That is the essence of becoming a man she wants to join, not a man begging to be chosen. Building a life that attracts begins with vision. A man without vision is like a ship without a compass, drifting with every wave, hoping to arrive somewhere, but never really steering himself. A man with vision, on the other hand, is intentional. He knows where he's headed. He has dreams that stretch beyond the present moment. He works on goals that give meaning to his days. And when a woman meets a man with vision, she feels the pull of his direction. She senses he is not waiting for someone else to give him purpose. He already has it. That is irresistible because it shows strength, independence, and leadership. She wants to step into his world because his world is moving forward while so many others remain stagnant. Growth also means constantly investing in your own development. This could be your health, your finances, your skills, your mindset, your spiritual life, every area where you can sharpen and elevate yourself. The nice guy waits for someone else to validate him before he grows. He thinks he has her, then he will improve. But the man who truly attracts never waits. He grows for himself, not for the approval of others. And as he grows, he becomes magnetic. People notice the way he carries himself, the way he speaks, the way he moves, the energy he gives off. Growth creates confidence, and confidence creates attraction. A life of purpose and growth is naturally abundant. It communicates that you don't need her to fill a void because you are already full. You're not looking for someone to complete you. You are looking for someone to complement the life you are already building. That difference changes everything. When you chase, you communicate lack as though you need her to validate your existence. When you build, you communicate abundance as though you are inviting her into a story that is already powerful. Women are drawn to that kind of energy because it feels exciting, inspiring, and secure. Another powerful piece of this is passion. Passion is magnetic. When you are passionate about your life, your goals, your craft, your mission, people feel it. They sense that fire in you, and they want to be close to it. Passion shows that you are alive, that you are driven, that you are connected to something bigger than yourself. The nice guy often dulls his passions because he thinks being too focused on himself will push her away. But the truth is, when you abandon your passions for her, you become less attractive. She doesn't want a man who gives up his fire. She wants a man whose fire inspires her to burn brighter too. Building a life also means creating stability. This doesn't mean you need to have everything figured out or that you must be perfect, but it does mean you are building a foundation. You are taking responsibility for your future, your choices, and your direction. That stability is attractive because it communicates that you are reliable, that you are consistent, that you are not just drifting through life hoping things will fall into place. She doesn't want to feel like she has to carry you. She wants to feel like she can walk beside you, knowing you are strong enough to carry yourself. When you commit to growth and build it, you also stop over prioritizing her opinion. Not because you don't care, but because you have bigger things driving you. You no longer revolve around her every mood or response. Instead, you revolve around your vision. And ironically, that makes her want to be around you more. People are drawn to those who are not clingy, those who do not suffocate, those who give space, because they are too busy living their own lives fully. She will miss you when you are gone, not because you played a game, but because your life is rich and full, and she wants to be part of it. Every moment you spend building yourself is an investment that multiplies in attraction. When you read, when you work on your health, when you learn a skill, when you expand your network, when you refine your character, you are adding to the value you bring into every interaction. You are raising the level of the man you are becoming, and that raises the level of women who are drawn to you. Instead of settling for anyone who shows attention, you begin to attract those who recognize your worth because you have created a life worth recognizing. The key is to stop thinking of attraction as something you chase and start thinking of it as something you magnetize. A magnet does not run after metal. It simply holds its force and the metal comes to it. In the same way, when you invest in yourself, when you focus on your growth, your purpose, your passions, and your stability, you create a force that others cannot ignore. You don't need to try to convince anyone of your value. They see it, they feel it, they want to be around it. That is how you shift from being the nice guy who gives everything away for scraps of attention to being the man who builds a life so powerful, so full, and so rich with purpose that others can't help but be drawn into it.